Let me check that everything is recording okay. Yes, it looks like it is working right. Today, I want to ask a question that I really think is right in the middle of world politics right now. It feels more important and more not understood than almost any other question. That question is simple and clear. Is Israel really a friend and partner of the United States? On the outside, most people would say, of course, Israel is a friend and partner. Look at the proof. America gives Israel many billions of dollars in help for its army every single year. America stops United Nations votes that speak against Israel. America sends big groups of aircraft carriers to the eastern Mediterranean Sea every time Israel faces a danger. These are clearly not the moves of enemies, right? But I want to question that idea in a direct and strong way, because if one looks at history with care, if one uses game theory without feelings, the truth is almost exactly the opposite of what people usually say. Israel is not America's friend and partner. Israel is America's next one in line. That may sound very strong, but let me go through the idea step by step. This is a deep idea and needs us to set aside what we think we know and look at how the world really works, not how it shows up in newspapers and television talks. First, I want to go back to a way of thinking I have talked about before, because without it, nothing that comes next will make full sense. At the deepest level of the whole world system is what we call the empire. The empire is the strong power. It is the army force that makes rules stick, guards the flow of resources, and pushes down any challenges to the way things are now. For the last 80 years, that empire has been the United States of America. Around the empire is the world of money and banks. Wall Street, the City of London, the Bank for International Settlements. These are the ones who control the big game. They do not hold guns, but they decide the rules of the money game. They choose who gets loans and who goes broke. Below them, the world economy runs on the US dollar, which gives America huge built-in power. And on top of everything, there is what Americans call the rules-based world order, the United Nations, the World Trade Organization, the International Monetary Fund. These groups exist to make the system look fair, legal, and okay. In truth, they are covers, hiding the real power of the empire and the quiet control of money behind nice words of talk and steps that look official. Now here is the main point. Every big player in this system, the large banks, companies that make weapons, spy groups, and old family groups that reach across countries, their main goal is not making the world better. It is keeping things the same. They make money from things staying steady, easy to know, and going on without big breaks. They do not look for real big changes. But there is a big problem. The strong power of the system, the American empire, is clearly getting weaker. When the strong power starts to fail, the whole setup becomes easy to break. The people who really run things, the money leaders, the game controllers, now face one big urgent question. Who will take America's place? I know this may sound like a secret plot idea. Let me tie it to real history, because this is not something new. In fact, it is one of the most common patterns in human history. I call it the hired fighter pattern. Here is how it works. A big empire, as it gets older, starts to not want to do its own hard and dirty jobs. It wants to look like it stands for being civilized, for democracy, and for following the law. So it pays others to do the violence, using hired fighters, local groups, or partner armies to carry out the killings, the making things unstable, and the forcing. Interestingly, these hired fighters often end up turning against the ones who pay them. Look at the Romans. Early on, they worked as hired fighters for the Etruscans in northern Italy, doing their bosses' tough and mean tasks. In the end, they looked at the Etruscans and said, "We are the ones who are dying. The Etruscans are weak and full of problems. Why do we work for them?" Rome took the place of the Etruscans and became the empire. Think about the Mongols. They started as hired fighters and guards on the edges for Chinese ruling families, protecting borders and fighting tribes on the plains. Genghis Khan finally decided, we are stronger than these people. Why listen to them? The Mongols took over China. The Aztecs followed the same pattern. At first, they were hired fighters for the Calwa people in central Mexico. They finally beat their bosses and started their own empire. See the pattern? Hired fighters grow stronger, more trained, more loyal than the empire that is getting weak, which they work for, and in the end they take its place. Now use the same idea for Israel. Started in 1948, mostly by planners from Britain and America, Israel's job was to be a steady helper in the Middle East, a tough fighter dog, a base up front, an aircraft carrier that could not sink. Israel would fight in wars, make enemies weak, take the blame from the whole world, and do the bloody jobs so America could stay looking clean. For many years, this worked well. Israel fought in 1948, 1956, 1967, 1973, 1982, 2006, and again in Gaza. Today, Israel looks at America and thinks exactly what the Romans thought about the Etruscans and what the Mongols thought about the Chinese. We do all the hard work. We take the losses. America is weak, split up, full of problems, and mixed up. Why should we stay as their helper? Why not become the empire ourselves? This takes us to a second main idea: how the big world leaders choose which country becomes the next empire. Think of it like giving money to start a business. Picture a person with trillions of dollars to give out. Company A has hundreds of money-making parts, many years of know-how, good leaders, and lots of stuff. Company B has failed before, but is very eager, never gives up, and has everything at stake. Most people pick A, but the smart person with money picks B because B cannot let itself fail. They have everything depending on winning. This is how the big leaders pick the next strong army power. They look for three things. Togetherness. Does the whole group of people fully back the plan? Ability. Can the country do the job well? Strong will. Will they keep going through very hard losses? Look at the United States. On togetherness, opinion counts show only 40% back military moves against Iran. 60% are against it or do not care. Not togetherness. Ability, even though it spends 41% of all the world's army money, a few $1,000 flying bombs can put big million-dollar gear in danger. Costly carriers and F-35 planes have shown weak spots, not ability. Strong will, the Pentagon is scared of reports about people getting hurt. Today, America hopes small groups sent out can do big wonders, not strong will. Israel passes all three tests. Togetherness, 82% back the work in Gaza. 66% see the war as something the country must win to live. Strong will, the views of people and leaders stay firm, even with blame from everywhere. Ability, actions like the 2024 Lebanon pager attack show smart planning and exact moves that no one else can match. If you were a big world money giver, would you support America or Israel? The smart answer is clear. Inside some groups in Israel, there is the idea of a bigger Israel, claiming all land from the Nile to the Euphrates. Iran is outside this land they say was promised. So why is Israel so ready to face Iran? The answer, America, not Iran, is the main thing in the way of control in the area. U.S. bases sit on important land, watch over oil paths, and trade roads. The plan is simple. Pull America into a costly war that cannot be won, wear it out, and leave an empty space for Israel to step into. This is game theory, not just an idea. Real hired fighter patterns from history prove it. Iran and Israel are enemies right now. Yet in world power games, strong countries often do not destroy each other. Instead, they leave weaker countries for each other. Over time, America will pull back, leaving Israel and Iran as the main powers. Strong powers respect each other and go after the weak ones. At the same time, the war makes Iran stronger in money ways and brings it into big trade groups, making it tougher and cutting America's hold. The Middle East after America will look like a piece under Judea, a power setup centered on Israel. The main parts are control of resources, the India, Middle East, Europe path being the boss in data and smart computers and better spying than others. Israel's smart place in the world makes sure it is the top in trade, energy, new tech, and spying. For the U.S., this is sad. Trillions of dollars used, soldiers gone, problems at home ignored, while Israel gains. Wars help the big leaders, not regular Americans. Each dollar for the army speeds up America's fall and Israel's rise. Americans are using up their own future to build another empire. These wars show the end of America's time and the start of peace under Judea. Quick wrap-up. 1. Big world leaders need a strong working army empire. America does not work well enough anymore. 2. Israel shows the needed things of togetherness, ability, and strong will. 3. Patterns from history with hired fighters say the switch is sure to happen. 4. The war against Iran is a way to wear out America and lift Israel up. 5. Once things calm down, Israel and Iran stay, strong powers sharing the area while the rich ruling families in the Gulf get smaller. I'm not pushing for this to happen. I'm telling what seems likely using history, game theory, and careful study of plans. Thinking ahead with history makes our minds sharper and helps us see more. If it turns out wrong, it still helps us understand better. Next week, we will look at ways to take apart American power from the inside using money matters, markets, oil, and tools with money. Thank you for listening to this hard-to-hear look at things. I will see you next time.